The realities of pain and grief that come from losing a child are incalculable. The sudden and immediate loss echoes the complexities of remembrance for the rest of your life.
Then he was on his way up and heard a thump. So he ran upstairs and he had passed out. He was still awake, but he was like, he's not good.
How do you find peace in a world you never expected to experience?
That was the hardest day of our lives.
Yeah, we got to hear his last heartbeat, so it was hard.
He said, you have a choice, but please don't put him through this again. Don't do this to him.
Every 6 minutes, somebody in America dies of a blood clot.
We're here to change that statistic. Welcome to Taking a Breath, a Stop the Clot podcast.
An award-winning podcast dedicated to bringing awareness of the dangers of blood clots from the clotting disorders community to the world.
With the help of many notable blood clot survivors, we are here to give you the knowledge and the skills you need to prevent this silent killer.
My name is Leslie Lake. I am the volunteer president of the National Blood Clot Alliance, and I am a blood clot survivor.
And my name is Todd Robertson. I'm the patient engagement liaison for the National Blood Clot Alliance, and I am a 7-time blood clot survivor.
And we're here to stop the clot. It's unimaginable, having to scale the seemingly insurmountable and to continue changing the lives of others day in and day out. Our guests today are guided not only by the love they have for their son, but by their ability to advocate for a world where other families will never face the tragedy they've endured. Today, it is my pleasure to welcome two people whose warmth and goodness shines through the fog of the impossible. This is Karrie and Bob Burgess.
I'm Karrie Burgess. I'm the mother of Blake and Brooke Burgess. I've been doing this for a long time, but I'm a speech pathologist, and I've been doing it, a long time. And I took a little break and was a pharmaceutical rep when I actually had Blake. I wanted to change careers a little bit and have a little more time with him, so I took a break from that.
Hi, my name is Bobby Burgess. I'm Blake's dad, and I am a medical device sales rep. And ironically, I work for a company called Penumbra, and we actually do mechanical thrombectomy and remove clots from people's lungs and save their life. So I wish I was doing this in 2020 when Blake had his PE.
Well, Blake was basically the all-American kid. From the time he was born and could speak, a cherry tomato was a ball. Everything was a ball. So we knew he was going to love sports for sure, and he did. And everything he did well. He was the quarterback. He did competitive quarterback at a young age and attended a quarterback camp and was the quarterback for, it's a little league, but it was an intense little league. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And then he went on to play in high school and became the quarterback for our 6A high school. He wore the number 10. He was not only just an athlete, he was just truly a kind soul. He was generous to everyone. It's ironic that since he passed, we've had more letters, more calls, more texts from people we know and people we don't know, explaining, you don't know this, but at our elementary school, I was bullied. Blake sat at the cafeteria with me. The bullying stopped. The neat story about that since his passing is those two boys have now reconciled at college and were in each other's weddings. So that was just one of the stories. We had a story we never knew. Blake was extremely humble, and that doesn't always go together when you've got a quarterback, but he did not like the limelight. He was an awesome quarterback, but did not like the limelight. And his high school is very well known for a special needs program, and they do an amazing job. We never knew this, but he would go read to the special needs before football practice. And his main coach was a special needs teacher. So it's just little things like that we slowly learned. We have a golf tournament every year in honor of him. We had I don't even know this guy. He was a friend of Blake's, gave us a 3-page letter at the tournament, but he wrote it, I think, a week after he passed away. So he didn't feel it was right to give it to us, except for 5 years later. And he said, do not read it today. And we went home and slept and read it. And it was just such a kind letter. And I think the common thing about Blake is all these stories we're getting, and his girlfriend at the time even said everybody looked at Blake as their best friend. To us, Blake had a few really good friends, but everybody said, he's my best friend. He really likes me. He's so kind. So that's the most important thing. He was just a really kind soul. He was incredibly smart, very good at math. He was a junior in college at OU when he passed away, and his girlfriend at the time had told us that he had had straight A's, which we didn't know. He didn't even brag about that. And just very well respected in his fraternity at OU. Just the things that people are still doing today. They put on a Blake's Week every year. They've done it for 5 years, where they raise money between the sorority that his girlfriend was in and fraternity he was in. Ironically, my daughter is in now, that sorority, and they still do it, and it's just amazing that they're still honoring him at OU to this day.
The golf tournament, this is the 6th year, and we've raised, I think, around $200,000, and that goes into a college fund that we give out a scholarship each year to a kid from his high school that has characteristics like Blake. Somebody that's humble, kind, leader. That was Blake. He was really good at everything he did, but he was very humble about it and didn't like to brag about it. He didn't like the limelight. Put him in a sport, he was going to be really good at it, and he was very smart, and he was going to be a very successful young man. Mm-hmm. It's just unfortunate that, the COVID and the blood clot took him away from us too soon.
Mm-hmm. Like, he had the most eclectic friend group. Like, you would think, oh, he's a sports guy, he's got all these jocks. No. And we've had some go, I don't even know why he wanted to be my friend, but he was. And I'm like, that was Blake. He just loved everyone. And he didn't care if you were a jock, whatever. If he liked you, he liked you.
He was very well-rounded.
Yes. These messages from friends, they're just amazing. And his very best friend just got married in November. And just what they did to honor him, the now wife wanted the mother-in-law to make a pocket square with his initials for Bobby, the groom, his best friend. And she surprised him. They honored him at the wedding. They used his Jeep for the getaway car. It's just the things people are doing to honor him are amazing. And even his, at the time, girlfriend is now engaged. And she called me about 4 years ago, and I knew what was happening. And when she got engaged, I congratulated her. And she even said she has a ring with his thumbprint on it. And she sent a picture of it and said he's always with me, and he was with me when I got engaged. So everyone has just been nothing but respectful to honor him. It's just been amazing.
So Blake was at college at University of Oklahoma, and this is September 2020. So this is right in the middle of COVID. He lived in a house with probably 6 guys, and he called and he said, I tested positive for COVID, but he just kind of had, kind of cold symptoms, a little, maybe worse than that, but not bad. He still felt pretty good. He quarantined. He didn't really feel that bad, but it just kind of lingered. And then he wanted to go to the ER.
Well, before that, he had gone in and got tested, and they said he had COVID. And then 3 days later, he said, I'm still not feeling great. And he said, where can I go in Norman again? And they said, you have COVID. If you get worse, go to the ER. So that was about 2 days later. He called me. He said, I do not feel good. Then I said, I'll come to you. We'll go to the ER. And he said, no, I'm already in my car. I'm coming back to Edmond, where we live. He lives in Norman, so it's about 35 minutes away. And so I was ready, got right out, got in his Jeep. I took over the driver's seat, took him immediately to our local hospital here. And it was COVID, so I can't go in. I went in initially, and they said, you have to go to your car. So I went to my car, and he went in and was looked at. And, I wasn't in there at the time, but I know he was hurting so bad. He said, my side hurts so bad. What is wrong with me? And I said, we're going to go find out. And he was just pushing at his side the whole time while I was driving. When he came out, I was able to ask him what happened. And he even said, I'm not sure what they said. Like, what do they want me to do? He had some paperwork. They did a EKG.
They ran an EKG.
And a chest
X-ray. But he had presented with symptoms. He had shortness of breath, chest pain, and pain in his side. So classic PE symptoms.
They also knew he had COVID because we had told him he's gone twice to get this looked at. And they said it's COVID. after they did all that, apparently they told Blake, you just have COVID. You basically have to just let it run its course. So they sent him back to the parking lot, and this time it's probably 3 a.m. And he's still the exact same way that he came in. And this hospital I trust, I thought I trusted, they're going to do the right job. So I said, what did they tell you? And he said, they gave me a prescription for a supercharged Motrin and a cough syrup. He wasn't really coughing that bad, but they gave him a cough syrup and said it's COVID. Just basically let it run its course. So this was really early in the morning. So we went home and I slept on the couch. His room is upstairs, but I slept on the couch just so I could hear him. And he said, what can I do? I still hurt. And I said, I can give you some Motrin. I don't know what else to do. And he went upstairs and put icy hot all over his chest and got in a hot bath. I laid there and he got comfortable and fell asleep. And ironically, his sweet dog Baker, that he wanted so bad, this chocolate lab that was a true lab, just laid between our stairs going down in his room. It's just right off the stairs. And I thought, well, that's sweet. That's kind of weird, but sweet. And then the next morning I said, how do you feel? I'm going to go get your medicine. He said, I feel better. I said, okay. And then I got his medicine, went to work. He said, I'm going to go back to Norman. I feel better. And I said, okay, let's keep an eye on it. And he went back to Norman and he had the ups and downs that typical COVID has of feel okay, I don't feel good. I feel okay, I don't feel good. And that kind of went on. And then he's talking to friends and people and they're like, man, I've had COVID. It's just that way. It sucks. You just have to keep going and rest and do what they say. And then it was about 10 days later?
Mm-hmm.
He had gone, and this is from his friends, 2 friends stayed back in that house. The other ones were going on a ski trip. And they had gone to Five Guys to eat, and then they were going to play video games. One went home because they could do it, from their home. Blake went upstairs, and then his friend was downstairs playing. And I guess Blake had texted his friend downstairs and said, you need to come up here. And then he was on his way up and heard a thump. So he ran upstairs and he had passed out. He was still awake, but he was like, he's not good. And thank God he had the instinct to call 911. We talked to him about it and said, what made you not just put him in your car? And he said, I don't know. I just thought I need to call 911. And so the Norman Fire Department showed up and talked to us after and said, stay with us, Blake, stay with us, Blake. We're getting you to the hospital. And got him in there, did his vitals. He
coded in the ambulance on the way there.
They said we're coming in hot in the ER. So the moment they got there, they started resuscitating him. So I get a call from his girlfriend because she tried to call me and somehow and Bobby and the phone wouldn't go through. So she called my daughter, Brooke. And Brooke came down and said, Mom, you need to wake up. Blake's in the hospital. By this time, we're like, here we go again. They're telling us it's this, they're going to send him home. So I really wasn't too concerned at this point. I thought, okay. And I even told Bobby, because he had to get up early, I said, I'll go get him. And I drove down there and I just had a gut. The nurse or the person that checks you in said, come right in here, Miss Burgess, and took me to a family room. And that you never want to hear because you're thinking, you need my insurance card. You need to know why are you doing this? And by that time, the doctor came in and said, this is severe. He coded. And I just, of course, lost it. I said, he what? And he said, he's stable, but he coded and he's not responsive at the moment. And I still was in shock. I mean, for one, I'd just been woken up and then, so I had to call Bobby. And that was one of the hardest calls I've ever made, was to tell him that he coded and you need to get here quick. And he just kept saying, what? This is not true. This is not true. And I said, you need to get here. And by that time, his girlfriend and his friends lived in Norman, so they came. And then JC was his girlfriend. His mom and dad came up from Edmond, and they were all in there with us in the family room. And we finally got to go see him in the ER, and that was tough because he looked great, and he just wasn't responsive. And you touch his head and his hair, and he'd twitch, and he was having seizures. And so they had to resuscitate him again. And then they finally told us we have to retest him for COVID before they're going to move him to an actual ICU room. But they said, we have to test him again. If he even has a glimpse of it, you all can't go in the room. So you might as well go home. By this time, it's 6 a.m. let us give you the results. Go get your daughter, talk to her, because she was getting ready to go to high school that day. And with my job, I worked in a COVID only hospital, and I know how that can linger, those tests, and it's probably out of their system. And I was like, please, God, don't let this be in his system. He needs his parents in that room. And sure enough, they said it's still in there. And so we got home and told Brooke. She was coming down with her backpack, and told her, you don't have to go to school today if you don't want, and explained that call you came down and told me about, which was very difficult. She just started crying and said, he's going to be okay, right? And I said, of course he is. Of course he is. And we just need to get our stuff and we'll all go down there together. And we went down there, and by this time he's in a room, but they won't let us in. So the doctors would come out to us and talk. And
well, they did a process of cooling his body down.
Well,
so they took him in and they get your body core temperature down really low so that it reduces brain swelling, because he went too long coded and not getting blood supply to his brain.
And then all the seizures that he was having. So the neurologist, she was amazing, came out and said, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to cool him down. This is a process. It's going to be the week, and then we start warming him back up. So at that point, we were very hopeful. We're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. His high school football team was playing on Friday night, and I said, this will be great. We'll get to tell you about the game. We're all big Oklahoma Sooner fans. They had a game on Saturday. We're like, this is great. He will be fine. We'll be able to talk to him about all this, So it was just amazing at the response of people that came in this hospital. And what's ironic is most COVID hospitals, including the one I work at, would never let that many visitors in, ever. In this waiting room, I bet there were 50 people at one time. They never wanted to leave. And these are fraternity brothers, friends, family members of the friends coming up. Every time I go back to look at him through the glass, which was torture, I'd come back out and there's some more food, or there's a gift basket, or there's puzzles, or there's something. And people praying for us. And two major churches here, one that we attend, had people that arranged to come down to Norman and leave Edmond and do a prayer group with us. It was so amazing. And we were just so hopeful that his fraternity had done a vigil. And I said, Bobby, go, I got this. You all go, take those fraternity brothers, and you go represent our family. I'll sit here. We're good. We're good. And that was very, very special. Then when they all came back, one of the nurses came out, or maybe it was the doctor, and said, you know what you guys could really do that would help Blake? And they said, what? And they said, there's a blood drive going on right down, was it downstairs of the hospital? Would you all go donate blood? That could save someone's life. And they all went down and donated blood. It was really sweet. So, this is over a 5-day, 6-day
About
period.
5 days, yeah. We had a lot of hope. When they started warming him up, we thought he was just going to wake up. But once they started warming him up, he was having seizures, and his brain had too much injury from lack of oxygen. So then it was just a tough decision of, what do we do at this point? Is he brain dead, or, what's going on? So, we fought another day or two, and then we got a call the last night, and they said, you need to get up here. And I guess his heart just finally was giving out, which, it was tough, because we thought we were going to walk him out of there, and that was it. But everybody fought for 5 days.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy about it looking back now, and I've talked to a dear friend that she lost a child at a very young age. It took her about a year, but she said, could I just visit with you? I just feel in my heart of hearts that Blake was already gone with the Lord that night, but he stayed around for you all. He stayed around for his friends. He did it for the fellowship, and everyone sitting in that room with mask on and just being there. And that would be Blake. Like, I want you guys to be together. And maybe he was looking down and watching and just loving all the community that happened. But it was Saturday, and we still had a hope, but we always had to leave at 7 at night, and that killed me. So I stayed with Blake's girlfriends. They have a house there. She was wonderful. She said, if you get a call, I need to know I'm going. I said, I promise you I will tell you. And Saturday we went and ate. And then our friends got us a hotel room, and then they were going to get us an Airbnb. This is how hopeful we were that we would be there for a week staying. And they just all pitched in, and we laid down about midnight, and I jumped up. And the same doctor that admitted him in the ER was the one that called me. So he's kind of knowing the story, and he said, you do not race, but you need to get up here. And we got up there. We called his girlfriend. We called his very best friend. They were up there in the room with us, and that was the hardest day of our lives.
Yeah, we got to hear his last heartbeat, so it was hard.
He said, you have a choice, but please don't put him through this again. Don't do this to him. And he's so smart. So I knew that's not fair to him. He was just a brilliant kid. And so we made that decision, and we could finally go in. And ironically, we were both in healthcare where we already had PPE in our cars. And we all went in and said our goodbyes, and his girlfriend and Parker, his good friend, and then my daughter. Then they left, and I couldn't leave him. So we just stayed, and I kept telling him what a great son he was, and he can go, and we love him. And the hardest thing to ever do was leave your son at a hospital and know he's not coming back. That was what was so hard, is to drive home and sleep and just not have him with us.
Had to pack up his room and bring everything home. But it was tough. It was during COVID, so we were trying to plan the funeral, and I didn't know if we could even have people there during COVID. And Oklahoma opened up pretty quick, and this is even before the vaccines were out. But
right.
Our church allowed us to have the service there, and it was standing room only. We had people like in the lobby watching on the screen. And I said Blake wouldn't want to be buried in a suit. So we put him in an OU jersey and told everybody to wear their favorite jerseys. And it was a kind of a cool touch.
It was very cool.
That it was just a fun celebration.
Some wore their old Mojo outfits from when they played Little League.
Baseball team.
Basketball team.
I bet there were 500 people in there. I couldn't believe how many people showed up.
1,000.
Or maybe 1,000. I don't know. The church was packed, and this is during COVID, and it was an amazing service. But, since then, all the stories that Karrie talked about before, and people coming back and saying, Blake touched me in this way, and old football coaches telling stories of him reading to the special needs kids. And he didn't ever tell me that. I mean, he didn't come home and say, Dad, guess what I did? He just did it. Very humble. He was a good kid, and he was a joy to raise. Unfortunately, blood clots do run in my family. My mom had previous DVTs. 2 of my sisters have had DVTs during pregnancy, so that clots in their legs. And that's pretty common during pregnancy. But I ended up having one when I was in my early 20s, and my leg was swollen. And then they found out that I had a DVT, so they ran a blood test, and they found out that I have a blood clot disorder that's in my family called antithrombin 3 deficiency. Our blood is just thicker than normal. So my mom and 2 sisters have it. And unfortunately, we had Blake tested during a knee surgery that he had in 10th grade. They said he didn't truly fully blown have it, but he was kind of borderline, and he didn't clot during his surgeries, during his rehab. But I'm afraid COVID kind of attacked your body, and it caused a lot of clotting. And I think that's what really attacked his clotting cascade. And he ended up causing him to have a PE because he never had swollen legs. Typically, you have a DVT before you have a PE, and the clot will dislodge from your legs or your arm and go to your lungs. And unfortunately, a PE, not many people survive it. I actually had a mild one when I was in my 20s, and I survived it. But Blake's was so massive, he couldn't survive it. He was only 21.
Strong and healthy. And I think that had a lot to do with it in the hospital, because it was not crowded that night when we took him to the ER. They were not overstressed. That he was a 21-year-old, very fit young kid. And it's very easy to dismiss that. And I think that is what drives us for this, is don't dismiss anyone, because these are 100% preventable and anyone can get one at any age. I think the biggest thing is be your own advocate, because like I said, we're going to a major hospital and trusting what they say. And this is the 3rd time in a row we've just heard it's COVID. But, as a parent, I lay awake at night going, why didn't I go to a different hospital and a different hospital and a different hospital? And like Bobby said, he goes, because you trusted the professionals. That can eat me up at night.
Well, unfortunately, I think they miss a lot of young people in the ER. I know that the young lady in Florida, Emily, there was a bill passed for her, Emily's Law, and she had a broken ankle or leg, ended up with a blood clot, and unfortunately that's what took her life. And it's preventable. I mean, if they would have diagnosed the blood clot with her, and then same with Blake, he was having a PE that night. He was having shortness of breath and chest pain, And if they would have ran a D-dimer test and a CT scan, they would have known.
We'd have a different story today.
So it is very preventable, but everybody has to go in, and I love this Blood Clot Alliance and putting the awareness out there that, hey, this is what you need to look for. And if you feel this, don't walk out of that ER without an answer. For me personally, when this happened in September, I told you previously, I'm in the medical device sales world, and I was selling heart valves, and, it was kind of a stressful job. And I just quit. I called my boss and I said, I'm not coming back to work. And the crazy thing is, I'm on the phone with my boss, and Blake's Jeep is sitting right in front of me, and I'm in my truck on the phone with my boss and telling him I'm going to quit what I thought was my dream job. And a Cardinal lands on the top of Blake's Jeep. And I said, hold on. And I got my phone out and took a picture, and I sent it to him, and we both start crying. I said, that's a sign from Blake. I mean, what are the chances a Cardinal lands on his Jeep in front of my car?
As he's quitting a job and doesn't have another job.
And I didn't have a job. I just said, I'm not doing this one more day. And then ironically, I reached out to a friend that I knew in Tulsa, and I said, I really love what your company's doing. And it's a company called Penumbra, and they're one of the first companies that they have mechanical thrombectomy that goes in and removes clots out of the legs and lungs and saves people's lives every day. And I said, I want to come to work for you guys. So it's pretty cool that, and I'm telling you, the first 10, 20 cases, it was hard to watch this and see all the clot that we pull out of people's lungs and think, gosh, that could have been my son. He could have had that chance. And I've been doing this 5 years now. I've been in probably 600 PE cases. And it's amazing. After this case, these people will come into the room. They're on death's bed. They can barely breathe. And by the end of the procedure, they're back on room air. They can breathe. And they're just, oh my gosh, I feel better. I can breathe. And then you show them the clot that pull out of their lungs, and they're just so amazed. And thank you so much. Can you send me that picture? They want the picture of the clot. But it is amazing the amount of clot that people will have in their lungs. But kind of a little history, prior to COVID, we really didn't have good devices to do this. It was pretty much just blood thinners. So now there are products that will treat this. And if we can diagnose it, we can save their lives. And at least blood thinners, at least get them in and give them TPA or heparin and help them out. You have to fight and be an advocate. And I think hospitals are getting better.
Yes.
The ERs used to just think, blood clots are rare or pulmonary embolisms are rare. There's no way a 21-year-old is having a pulmonary embolism. Well, yeah, they can. Anybody can have it.
On this show, when we emphasize being your own advocate, we mean it. A conversation on familial history or charted recognition of increased likelihood could save your life or the life of a loved one, especially among young people who are often overlooked as unlikely candidates for blood clots. Here to discuss clot misdiagnosis of young people and the importance of knowing your family history, this is Dr. Jeffrey Klein.
I'm really glad that you raised the question of young individuals. That's where my current research is focused, understanding how to diagnose blood clots in teenagers and young adults. It does happen. Not every, but almost every case of where I've seen a 17, 18, 21-year-old have a blood clot, there is a family member that had a blood clot, and almost never did the physician ask about it. And sadly, almost never did the patient or the patient's family tell the physician and sort of push it on them that, my dad had blood clots. We see cases again and again, including high profile cases where the father of the decedent, the dead person, had recurrent DVTs, and the doctor never wrote anything about that in the chart, suggesting to me that the doctor never knew about it and never raised the awareness that a 17-year-old can get a blood clot. Now, let me tell you about something that's going to be published in the next couple months. That's work we did in 21 hospitals across the United States, looking at patients under age 18 who presented with what we think are signs and symptoms of pulmonary embolism in children. When I say what we think, is because we don't really know, because there's been no study of it. But we found that the actual outcome rate of the children who were suspected of having pulmonary embolism in pediatric emergency departments was 6.5%. And that is very similar to adult studies. We believe this is extremely important information. especially if you're a family member who has lost a 17-year-old to pulmonary embolism, and there are many of them out there. Awareness is a key part of it, but telling the doctor about family history is probably half of the answer. It's not all the answer, but it's half the answer.
So you both have gone through something unimaginable, but you are actually using this for advocacy reasons. And let's talk about the Blake Burgess blood clot prevention bill. Bob, I know you talked about the Florida bill and Emily Atkins passing and that being the first bill, but you're also doing something in Oklahoma. So let's talk about how you first started thinking about this and where it stands and what you're hoping to accomplish. And for everybody who is listening to this, how they can also get involved, particularly those folks in Oklahoma.
Yeah. So I want to thank you.
Yes.
Since we met you, this has accelerated the process. My boss and I, we were talking about, we were trying to get with some doctors and maybe get with some of the U.S. senators from Oklahoma and really go big scale. How would we even do this? And it just seemed overwhelming. And where would we start? And thank God you guys came into the picture. And I think ironically, the connection was my company reaching out to the Blood Clot Alliance and asking how we can get involved with awareness of PE and DVT. And the two of us came together and we fortunately met you. And then ironically, our local House representative used to be our neighbor that lived right down the street and knew Blake when he was a little kid riding his bicycle up and down the street. And we reached out to him and asked for a meeting. And he said, I would love to meet with you. And I actually know who you guys are. He's moved from our neighborhood, but he remembered us from the neighborhood. So we had coffee with him and we told him our story and what we want to do. And he said, I am 100% in. So since then, he's working with other House representatives and senators in Oklahoma to try to get this bill on the floor this term. Mm-hmm. So we're hoping January, February, we'll get this on the floor and passed. And he said, we're going to get this passed. We're going to save some lives. And I'm just blown away by how many lives we could save with this. And like I told you before, my day in and day out, I'm around blood clots every day. And I'm just amazed how many people are not treated properly in the ER, especially rural hospitals, that the education and awareness is not out there, that these people are having a PE and they dismiss it as something else. They go home and maybe they make it, maybe they don't. And it is preventable.
I think like Bobby said too, is we've always wanted to do something to create awareness, but it is so overwhelming. You just feel like a little fish over here in a very big pond. So we are truly grateful for the National Blood Clot Alliance to come in and help us to figure out the process and what we need to do and to help us be a voice and explain how the bill should run. And we're extremely grateful.
Well, it takes a village. It's the two of you, your family, supporting this initiative, and the legislators and NBCA, but also there's a lot of hospitals and clinicians in Oklahoma who want to see this go through.
Definitely.
Yes.
We had as you know, a brief campaign if you're interested in supporting the bill to sign up and contact. And I think we had hundreds of people in like 3 days that signed up and said, hey, we want to be able to support this. So we need to get those folks involved and organized and make sure that they're reaching out to their legislators and saying, hey, this is a very important bill and it will save lives. 100% this will save lives. So we know that Blake is listening to us right now. I'm convinced of that.
Yes.
What do you think he would say about it? What are he's feeling about all this work that you're doing right now and seeing this all play out?
Oh, he would say, well done, Mom and Dad. I think, he's so humble. He'd say, you're doing this for me?
Yeah, that was my first reaction is he would say, absolutely do it, but you don't need to keep my name and you don't need to. He's just so humble that I could see him saying, just do it. But it is about honoring him and not having this happen to anyone else. This doesn't need to happen. And I would.
Well, if you can put a name and a face to it.
Right.
Emily was a young, beautiful girl and she died way too soon. That brings awareness. If it's someone that's older, you think, well, they had a good life. But when they're 21, there's so much life to live. And if you could diagnose it, treat it, and then they're on blood thinners for the rest of their life that would prevent a future clot, then great. You just go down the road. And that's what happened with me and fortunately happened with you. it's something, the awareness needs to be out there, and I'm so honored that we could tag Blake's name to it.
Absolutely.
And it'll always be the Blake Burgess bill for Oklahoma.
Yeah, no, this is a huge, huge step. And every time you talk about Blake reading to the special needs kids, I kind of envision in my head that he's reading about the bill and helping people and continuing that process of like, hey, you got to read this, you got to see this, and we're going to continue to help people. So this is a really beautiful thing, and I personally am just honored to participate with both of you and get this off the ground. So
thank you.
I think Blake had a hand in God and putting you in our lives, so we really do thank you.
And just also the fact that you're now working with Penumbra. So it's not just the bill, but it's what you're doing professionally too. And the amount of people that is saving. A lot of folks don't know that this is a new treatment option and how effective it is.
Yes.
So whether or not it is anticoagulation or mechanical thrombectomy, there are options. There are options for people. So the way that you've channeled this is, like I said before, it's just amazing to see.
Yeah, it's my why now. You always wonder, are you making a difference in your job, and is it worthy? And it is rewarding to go in a PE case and see that patient go back from on death's bed to they're on room air and they can breathe and they feel great. And you think, wow, this is cool. We got to save somebody's life today. I love it. This is the best job I've ever had.
It is cool. And the impact is immediate.
Yes.
Is immediate.
Every time we see a cardinal, we know he's coming to check in. Just having a bad day, and he'll look outside and there's the cardinal on the fence saying, I got you.
Yeah, it is pretty neat. We have a bird feeder back there, but a cardinal will sit on our back fence in the same spot probably 2 or 3 times a week. And almost always when you need it the most, I'll look out there and there it is. I'm like, I always get a picture. I have probably 500 pictures of cardinals on my phone, but I just feel like that's a little message. It's like, Dad, you're doing the right thing. I'm good. But yeah, we miss him so bad. He should be here, and I wish he had that chance. And there's a lot of people that fortunately down the road we can help with this bill, with awareness, and just getting them to therapy.
For sure. And March is Blood Clot Awareness Month, and this is when this episode will run because it's such an important episode, and just so many people come to us during the course of the month. So I really think this will go a long way to educating people. Not necessarily for this episode today, but I will tell you, I was on a call with my colleague earlier, and we were talking about Blood Clot Awareness Month. And I said, yeah, we're going to do this, but I feel like there's something missing. And, I keep coming back to sports and athletes and young people and this athlete and da-da-da-da-da. And then you guys popped up and I was like, oh my God, is that his shirt?
Oh.
And I was like, that's a sign.
Yeah.
That's a sign. What are the odds of yes? I was like, oh my God.
He's pretty amazing.
So well done, Blake.
Well done, Blake.
He
Good
gave
job.
me a hint.
Yeah, he's telling you what to do.
Totally.
I was just going to say, as a mom, and I'm sure Bobby too, the guilt can just eat you up, and I do get mad. I don't know if that note went back. I don't know. I'm mad they didn't do the proper channels. I'm mad that I have a Christmas without my son. I'm mad that my daughter doesn't get to see her brother. There's a lot of things I get mad at. He's not going to get married. He's not going to have children. He's not going to, help poor Brooke put us in a nursing home one day, whatever it be. But there's a lot of guilt. You can get really angry. So something like this bill, the golf tournament we put on that people support so well, the football banquet that we were able to give a scholarship out really helps us to know that there's a lot of good that's come out of this.
Right.
Because boy, you can get mad real quick, get angry, and have a lot of guilt for sure.
Well, we're going to focus on Oklahoma, but then we're going to roll to the federal side. We're going to take this nationally.
Yes.
Awesome.
So Blake is going to be with us, and we're going to get this done nationally too, because we're not stopping ever.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you.
Ever. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Taking a Breath. We want to thank Karrie and Bob Burgess for sharing their journey and sharing with us the joy that Blake continues to carry through the world day after day. A special thank you to Dr. Jeffrey Klein for his insight and expertise. For more information on risk prevention and community, please visit stoptheclot.org. If you wish to aid in our efforts of blood clot awareness, please consider donating to our cause at stoptheclot.org/donate.
We know the patient because we are the patient. Together with listeners like you, we can collectively stop the clot.
For more information, visit stoptheclot.org. Another Everything Podcast production. Visit everythingpodcast.com, a division of Pattison Media. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast.